Okay, so this is episode 7 of the RIES IDIOMAS podcast. Okay, so today I'm going to be looking at question 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so these kind of break off into two separate parts. One is all about leadership, and then the other one then are kind of taboo subjects. Okay, so obviously, like I mentioned in the previous video, I wanted to talk about these because these are always brought up during political campaigns, and any candidates are always pressed or kind of pushed to answer and give their opinion about how they feel about certain topics. Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. So, do you lead people? And then give examples. Okay, so I think I do lead people in general. In my office, I think I lead people. I don't think I'm a very pushy leader or anything like that. I'm very strict when it comes to punctuality or when things have to be done and they have to be done on time or something like this. But in general, I'm quite lax or quite easygoing when it comes to being a leader. I like to train my team, get them up to a very high level, and then treat them as a professional. And then in my personal life, I think I lead my house in certain ways. I think that I'm good at like coordinating certain things in the house. I don't know, even like paying bills, little things like that. So I think that's how I lead people in general in my personal life. Okay. And then number 23 is very stuck onto that. Then it's like, how would you lead people? Okay. So if I was in a position where I'm a plant director or a plant manager or something like this, I think you have to be very, very strict about when things need to be delivered and given on time. But then at the same time, you need to be very empathic and very open-minded and very human. Obviously, in something like the automotive industry, you have to be somewhat kind of open to when people need permission or when people need to go home and put their family first. It can't always be the company first, you know. So I think I would have not really a democratic, more like an affiliative kind of leadership style. If I was in that position that I was leading, I don't know, 100 people in an administration, how would you say, in not a department, but obviously people in administration have to be led very, very different than people in operation, because obviously if you're working in a production department, time is money. So you can't be that human or open or empathic. Obviously, if someone has a very serious problem, they need to go home. But then obviously they can't be talking around, about how they feel or anything like this, you know, in a production department. So I think depending on the context, for example, if it is in administration, the pace is very, very different compared to production. You know, it's more focused on getting things done or understanding why people need to do it. So I think I would be able to express myself very, very well, take care of my team, train them in the professional skills that they need, but then also like hard skills, for example, you know, like, I don't know, accounting, taxes, finance, anything like this, or understanding like an indicator, like a KPI, and then how to understand what that really means in production. But then obviously for soft skills and things like that about communication and then teaching other people how to be a leader, I think I'd be very good at that then as well, because you'd have to explain the function and why this is really important for their day-to-day lives in their professional life. Okay, number 24. Do you think you are a conservative or a liberal? Okay, well, I wouldn't classify myself as one or the other. Some things I'm very conservative and some things I'm very liberal about. Okay, so if it's something like, I don't know, abortion, for example, which is always a very hot topic whenever you're talking about political campaigns, I think that I wouldn't be very conservative or very liberal. I don't think a woman should be getting 10 abortions, for example, but I also don't think it's the government's right to tell a woman what she can do with her body. So yeah, I think I'm kind of in the middle with that. There's always a big gray area, you know. So for some people, if you're very, very religious, for example, Catholic, you'd say it's a black and white issue, only yes or only no. But then, for example, for me, if a baby is going to be born with, I don't know, birth defects, or he'll have no quality of life, or if it could kill the mother when she's giving birth or something like that, then I would agree to an abortion or something like this. But then, yeah, like I don't think it's really fair for a woman to just abort whenever she feels like it, you know. So that's my opinion anyway, you know. So obviously if you feel differently, that's your opinion too. And that's the whole point about these classes here. We talk about really complicated subjects, and it's never to defend your opinion. It's always about expressing your opinion. Okay, another one that's really, really common, obviously, in the United States of America and then also in Mexico is border control. So I feel like for a lot of Mexicans, they're kind of hypocritical because they're always complaining like, oh, the Americans are very racist against us in the north border of Mexico. But then when you're talking to Mexicans about Central Americans or South Americans, they can be quite close-minded or sometimes even racist as well. So for a lot of the people that I've spoken to in Mexico, they feel like, oh, the Americans should just let us go through and they shouldn't treat us so badly or be so racist. And then when they're talking about people from Honduras or El Salvador or something like that, they feel like that they should block that border completely. So I think I will be more conservative when it comes to this because really a lot of countries can't support a huge immigrant population. I do think every country should have a percentage from neighboring countries that they will allow into their country and support them and take care of them and give them opportunities and everything like that. Especially here in Irapuato where you have a big train, they call it the Beast, La Bestia, yeah. There's one of those coming up through this area and you see a lot of really desperate people and they're living under a bridge and they're basically traveling the whole way across Europe, all the way through Mexico, for example, to get up to the United States. So it's an incredible journey that these people make. And it's treacherous, it's very dangerous. There's things like human traffickers or smugglers, like coyotes, as you say in Spanish, that they abuse a lot of people. They take their money and they can, kill them, abuse them, abandon them in the desert or something like this. So I think it should be kind of part of a law where a country has an agreement with another country, like its neighbor, to take some of its refugees or to help them, support them as well, because they're all connected, you know. It's very similar in Ireland as well, that Ireland takes a lot of immigrants from different countries, refugees as well, to help them get back on their feet. I don't know about open borders. I don't know how that would work because some countries in Central America are kind of a mess at the moment. You have places like Honduras or El Salvador where a cartel is basically running the country and you have a curfew where you can't be on the streets at night after 9 p.m., for example, or else they'll kill you. So obviously in a situation like that, then it's almost impossible to fix that problem, you know. So another one then would be gun control. So obviously this is a very hot topic in America, not so much in Europe, well, not at all in Europe and not so much in Mexico at all. So I don't know about this then as well. I'd be quite conservative. I think the majority of people shouldn't own a gun because I don't think they're very responsible. And I think in the heat of the moment or when somebody is very stressed or put under an incredible amount of pressure, they could snap, and if they have a gun, they're more likely to kill someone. So I will be quite conservative about gun control. I can't believe in some states in America you can just go and buy a gun whenever you want. I do know that some states have a waiting period, but then there's also like a loophole that if there's a gun show or something like this, you can get a gun almost immediately. Then also the problem with that then is that obviously affects the black market a lot. That a lot of people then, if they can't get a gun legally, they can go and get one illegally. And obviously the quality isn't as good and it's much more expensive, and then you can't track that gun because some of the serial numbers have been filed off or something like this. But I do know, historically speaking, any government that has taken the guns from its people has immediately eradicated millions of them. You know, that happened with the Great Step Forward or Great Leap Forward, I can't remember, under Maoist China. You know, they took all the guns from the farmers and the people and then like killed like 80 million of them. So obviously there has to be a little bit of leeway and you have to be a little bit liberal when it comes to gun control as well. Obviously, I'm speaking as an Irish person, and in Ireland it's a very safe country. You really don't have to worry about that. A lot of the police in Ireland, well, the majority of the police in Ireland don't carry guns. You only really get a gun unless you're a detective with a stellar or perfect record. But obviously here in Mexico it is kind of more of a gun country, but you wouldn't see them everywhere, you know. It does scare me a lot being an Irish person here when you can see like transit police or local police and they're carrying like a big shotgun and they really look very stupid. They don't look like they understand what they're even supposed to do, you know. And you really don't feel, like in Ireland, you feel protected by the police, or in Holland or in Spain. Whereas in Mexico, you really feel quite intimidated by the police. They're almost like a thug or a criminal then as well. But that's just from my experiences, you know. And what I've heard from other Mexicans living here for like 11 years, you know. So maybe it's different depending on the policeman that you talk to, okay? So there are three themes. That's border control, gun control, and abortion. And in the future, maybe I'll talk about, I don't know, gay adoption, gay marriage, stem cell research, taxation, church versus state, different hot topics that are always brought up and are kind of always very divisive as well when you're talking to the general population. Okay, number 25. What things are you conservative or liberal about? So this obviously bleeds into the previous question, or the previous question bleeds into this. This would be basically, I think I'm quite liberal when it comes to drug legalization, but soft drugs, not hard drugs. Yeah. I think that they should be legalized and taxed, and then the quality controlled. Because if not, then the criminal underworld takes over, and then they make way too much money in general. Um, Obviously about family and everything like that, I'm very conservative. What else? I suppose, yeah, stuff like, I mean, gay marriage, I'm incredibly liberal. Same as gay adoption, incredibly liberal about that. I agree 100%. What else would it be? I suppose like religion and education, I'm very conservative. I really don't think that there should be a religious agenda with state education. Because when I was in Ireland, it's a very Catholic country, almost Catholic. So I remember in public school taking my religion class or religion subject, for example, in a small chapel that was connected to the school. So it was like, oh, we're very diverse and we teach about all religions around the world. And it was really 95% Roman Catholic and 5% were all of the other religions kind of lumped in together. And they were kind of summarized quickly, but you really don't focus on that. So I'm very, very conservative when it comes to a government placing their religious agenda inside the public school system. So anyway, there are four questions, two about leadership and then two about conservative and liberal and taboo subjects. A little bit difficult, but anyway, leave your comments below and subscribe then for automatic updates as well. Thank you very much and have a great day.